welcome back to another episode of Over the Glass. I'm your host, Jey.
I'm co-host Ness. We're back again.
And today, we're talking about the Sharks because...
Why not?
Why not? The priority on our list right now is the draft.
The draft.
And, I'm sure Oilers fans out there and Panthers fans are getting excited for the playoffs. I think we'll see if I actually watch any of it, because I'm actually kind of fine that the Rangers got knocked out, because I'm like, cool, I get my evening back.
Yeah. I just was not excited about playoffs this year. It doesn't even feel like the finals are starting. I really don't care for either team, so I don't even know if I'll care to catch any of these games.
Well, since we are a hockey podcast,
I know.
I feel like we should maybe put in our vote of, if we were to watch the finals, who were we rooting for?
Probably Florida for chaos reasons. Everyone wants McDavid.
What's the chaos reason?
Everyone wants McDavid to get his cup because he's the best player in the world. This might be their only chance to get it, and if they don't, that's kind of chaotic for Canada, specifically.
It's funny that you should mention the Canada thing, because there's also that want for a Canadian team to win the cup. I don't know what the year is off the top of my head, but it's been quite some time since a Canadian-based team has won the cup.
Sometime in the 90s, I think. Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head.
I mean, all I'll say is I didn't watch the game where the Stars decided not to find the back of the net. I did see the final game summary, and I was just in shock that I think the Oilers, I don't have it right on hand, but the Oilers got something like 10 or 12 shots on goal. Their 2 goals came off of power plays in the first period, and then the Stars proceeded to attempt to find the back of the net with 30 some shots on goal after that, and they managed to find one. And if you look at the score sheet, it's nothing that will surprise you. It's Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, it's Hyman, it's McDavid, it's one or two of their defensemen that have been stepping up in a big way this during the regular season. I know they have other people on their team that have helped them along the way, but ultimately I feel like they're still riding on the handful of players, their power play, and then the mostly amazing season that Stuart Skinner has had. There was one other thing that I was going to mention, and it escaped my brain. Maybe it'll come back later to me. But
I feel like those. Oh.
I remember what I was going to say. Because it's in my perspective, any Oilers fans are listening to us, I don't follow your team. So ignore me. But this is just my observation, just looking at it, just following along while we were doing fantasy. The team heavily relies on their power play, and they have done better up front on 5-on-5 with scoring. But ultimately, you're still needing Connor McDavid in some aspect to produce. They were needing Draisaitl, I think, a lot during this this series, or it could have been the previous one. I know that he was kind of not really showing up there. But the thing that I noticed that was different with the Hurricanes and the Rangers series versus the Hurricanes and the Panthers, like, honestly, wait, did I say the Hurricanes and the Panthers? No, the Rangers and the Panthers. I was actually expecting the Rangers and the Panthers series for that to have been the Hurricanes and Rangers. That's what I was kind of expecting. So for the fact that, like, the Rangers didn't necessarily steamroll the Hurricanes, but I was definitely expecting more of like a, like tug of war, like in the middle versus like being flung in either direction. And the Panthers penalty kill, I don't know the stats currently, but they kept mentioning how at one point they said, oh, the Panthers are now 34 33 or something. Like, they have a really high percentage of being successful on their penalty kill. And like the Rangers kind of took advantage of when like the Panthers were on the power play and they like had a strong shorthanded goal like statistic. But we always get told that, the teams that are going to be the most successful, they're also going to have to like have strong presence on like their on their special teams. And anytime that the Rangers got a power play, it was crazy how like the Panthers players were on them. They had to get super creative. They were like talking about this constantly on the broadcast about how like the Rangers had to like move around their players to try and like work on the fly with changing their the structure of their power play. And I'm really interested to see if that causes some issues with the Oilers, because that whole series just like kind of following along like on the side, like there were a lot of goals that were scored on the power play. And so if you're ending up if that's the way that you're going to end up winning, I'm really interested to see like whether the Panthers can continue their streak of neutralizing teams' power plays. Actually, because the Oilers are like have one of the best ones.
Right. So if like the best penalty kill goes up against the best power play, that should be a fun matchup anyway. Just on special teams alone. But how is the other way around? Like, how's the Oilers penalty kill and the Panthers power play?
I don't know off the top of my head. I think they've been better.
Funner.
I think generally the Oilers have done better defense-wise than they have in the past. I mean, like, I'm sure that's how they got to the finals in previous seasons. Like so I think they've improved in that regard, but yeah, I haven't been following it too closely. So if anything, it'll be interesting to see like how that will match up, and like both teams are gonna have to find a way to, I mean, obviously at the end of the day, like the finals, you want like the best teams are gonna end up getting there. So we're gonna see like the two best teams of this season battle it out, and what worked for you the previous series or what worked for you all regular season may not work out for you when you start trying to chase the cup in the final. And so I guess there we go.
Well, maybe I'll try catching at least one game in the series just to see how that goes. We're gonna have
I think
to
I'll probably end up catching. Yeah. I'll probably end up catching it.
The last one when they hoist the cup.
Okay.
That's the only one that matters.
Just cheat code to the end. Just like hurry up and get there so we can get it over with. I mean, ultimately, like, what we're going to talk about in a bit is just, this doesn't apply to us.
We don't care. We don't care. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Oilers and Panthers fans. Like, I don't care about y'all's teams. Y'all don't interest me. I can't. Sorry. Anyways, team do carry him out is the Sharks.
Happy that you're happy, but
I know.
what we're gonna talk about is the upcoming draft, and of course Celebrini, the expected player to go first overall. He sits down with the media, and he gets his own time with them, and he gets asked all this stuff and whatever. Like he gets asked about, now I know where you talked about last episode how Smith, he signed his entry level contract, and we were talking about like every other question seemed to be like, congrats, Will Smith. But
are you excited about Celebrini?
What are your thoughts on Macklin Celebrini? And so I don't know how many questions Celebrini actually got about Will, if it was just this one, but he got asked about, his time playing against him, and, like potentially getting to play alongside him. And he said that like they've been texting like a little bit, so that's kind of cute.
Need to know each other before he's actually drafted.
But I didn't watch it. I was just reading about it, and he was asked, like I guess we're all waiting for whether or not he will decide to go back to college, or when he's picked first overall for the Sharks, if he'll come over to the club. Just kind of like the way he said it doesn't make me feel like he's gonna come over. Yeah. Which I'm fine with. Fine with. But I guess just the way he kind of said it, like you can tell that he's got a good head on his shoulders, and like a very mature perspective on how he's approaching his career. Like he understands, like, he wants the certain things that he wants to work on, and how he has to kind of like, his physique that he has currently that, was probably good and fine during college, is not necessarily gonna help him out in the long run and be sustainable for his continued growth when he eventually signs with a big club in the NHL and is going to have a really big role. Like we can take, for example, like Eklund. Like one of the first things that they asked him, like last season or whatever, like, oh, how much did you put on? And like, what are you going to work on in the summer? And they talk about how they're going to, put more, mass on themselves and everything like that. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Because originally I thought that like, oh, Will Smith signing, like that's definitely gonna push the needle. Now I'm not so sure, and I'm fine with it not having an influence to him. Like he, at the end of the day, he needs to like think about his individual success and how he's gonna help out the team.
Right. And like you said, it sounds like he's pretty mature and pretty aware of the things that he might need to be able to feel comfortable competing in the NHL, which is good. As disappointing as it might be to some fans if he decides to play another season in college, I think ultimately it'll be what's best for him and for the team. Like, he'll get another year of development, and when he comes in, he's going to kick ass. Like, it's fine.
It'll be worth the wait.
Yeah. We're patient.
And it may actually be better that way, because like we don't know if Smith is going to make the big club. Like he might spend his season down Barracuda. Like I was thinking about like, what would I rather have? Would I rather have him start out with Barracuda so he doesn't like make the team out of training camp, spend some time down there, kind of work on things like maybe like they wanted him to do better during training camp, And I think he has like the capacity to apply those in like in a more accelerated fashion than maybe like a player that was like picked up later in the draft or whatever. Like we know that while Mario Ferraro, he spent a couple more years at UMass. Like he didn't spend a day with the CUDA. He made the team right out of camp, and it wasn't. And I like I still remember when that happened. Or I was like, wow, like I haven't seen that before. Like usually we're like, okay, that's cute that they're at training camp, but go play with the CUDA now. Go work on,
or like if they if they do make it to the Sharks, it's usually very temporary, right? And then they get sent back to the CUDA.
Yeah. Or they play like if it's defensemen, they play on like the third pair and they get like 5 minutes of ice time, and then you're like, well, they exist somewhere on the ice, but it's not anything like to talk about. Versus Ferraro got the opportunity to be paired with Burns, and then I think that really helped with his development, probably helped him a bit more than maybe if he were down with the CUDA. I don't know necessarily. I can't really think of like who was really playing down there at the time, but like, I mean, we have talked in the past about yeah, well, that was during that time. So maybe it's better that he like got this opportunity to come up. But like, I mean, ultimately, if you have the discipline and you're given this opportunity to play with someone who is a very skilled and talented player, like when what the heck is his name? He was playing with Eric Carlson, and then we traded him. Oh, Middleton.
Well,
Middleton got some time with these elite players. I remember when he was traded to the Wild, and they had the whole interview process with him. They wanted, they were getting all this information to get like Wild fans excited, and like he was talking about how he was just happy to like give the puck to Carlson. Like he, his job, he knew his role. Like, go get the puck, go give it to me. And he's like, gladly, happy to do that. You go do your thing, happy to help you out. Like he just, like he got all this ice time. And it's like he understands. He's like, I'm not gonna go in there. Like he's been doing a little bit of it in his time in the Wild. And his time in the Wild. It sounds time with the Wild, not in the Wild. Like he's been doing a little bit of he gets the puck and then he tries to make more of a offensive play versus giving it to someone else who has more of that skill set, which I think, like, I'm really happy for him. Like watching him during his run this past season with the Wild, like they've really trusted him. I think he was actually playing up with the first pair. So like just my memories from when he was with the Sharks, just getting paired with, like, he spent quite some time down in the minors.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had this opportunity to come up with the Sharks. And I feel like if he were just have gotten paired for a third pair role with, like, I don't know, Vlasic or something, like I feel like maybe he wouldn't have got himself to this point where he maybe had a bit more confidence to like be more in a leader type defensive role where more responsibility could be put on him. But maybe he could. But I just saw, going back to like Ferraro, he gets this opportunity, he gets to learn a lot from like Burns. And then I think after like the first 2 seasons of him playing with Burns, I was like, this is all good and fine that Burns has this partner that meshes well with him. But when I think think the following season that was when we traded Burns, or because I know there was a time when Farr wasn't playing with him anymore, and I can't remember if it was just like they tweaked the pairings or whatever. And that was like the start of like his time where he was like struggling a bit. Like he finally had to like stand on his own 2 feet. And like, not to say that he wasn't doing a good job, but it's like when you're paired with Burns,
Yeah.
it's like you get no sympathy that you're like, what, you can't continue this like like this escalation of your capability. Not saying that like, okay, go ahead and be the next Brent Burns, but it's like, well, now you're put in this role where you're like a veteran presence. He's an assistant captain, all this stuff. And I think like he did okay, but then it like definitely made me feel concerned that I'm like, I hope he can get to the next level.
Right.
Because if this is like where he stunts, it's going to be really unfortunate.
Yeah, it's hard to say because the Sharks are just in a weird, sucky spot right now. But again, it really depends on like what what am I trying to say? What Mike Greer does in the offseason, I think, will also determine a little bit on Celebrini's decision on signing with the Sharks, right? Like maybe he feels that whoever he ends up bringing in isn't gonna feel like enough support for him to jump in right away, or maybe he'll just ultimately want to go back to college for, who knows, the experience. He's a kid. He's allowed to go have some kid experiences before he goes and freaking changes his life and chases this NHL dream for the rest of his career. Like, I think people need to be a little bit more understanding of the people part of players.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm very much waiting to see what we do for free agency. And I guess maybe we see more of that after like the draft. But like I'm wondering if Celebrini doesn't sign his entry level contract, I'm wondering how enticing the Sharks look to free agent players to come over.
You're right. Maybe that's a reason why they signed Will Smith, though. Like the potential of him making the big club. Like, here's an exciting young player that will be playing with the team. Come help support this kid, not just this one. And then if they both sign, then that's 2 little shiny new toys to dangle in front of them.
He was asked when he had made that decision, was it like before or after World Juniors? And he said it was like before. It's before he went over. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have like anyone that I'm kind of hoping we get, because I'm not sure what this next season is projected to achieve. Like, where are we in this timeline? Like, are they still seeing it as like the development stage of putting together like that? I mean, you're always going to be putting together the team, but like, where are we in?
Their goal is going to be just to not land in last place.
So I was joking to Nate about when Will Smith signed his contract, and we were joking about how, like, you know, this is our season and whatever, and then he was like, yeah, we're gonna be 28th instead of 32nd. And I was like, wow, that's more optimistic than what I thought of. I thought we'd be in 31st.
Hey, another high draft pick. Why not? Shit.
Like it's gonna be fun, but like let's be realistic about it. Like Will Smith is not, even when you look at like the Blackhawks, right? They got Bedard. They were just above us in the standings. So had they not gotten Bedard,
Maybe they would have been last.
Yeah. So it's like even the generational player, it's like you can maybe even go back to like when the Oilers got like McDavid. Like they're not all of a sudden, you put the team on their back and they'll lead you to the whatever.
Victory, yeah.
Yeah. So like I think it's going to be really exciting that whatever ends up happening, if he like makes a team out of training camp or he spends some time down in the CUDA, like ultimately I think he will find Smith. Like I think he will find his way onto the Sharks roster. And ideally, I would like him to either not make the club and then like spend some time down the CUDA and then slot in, or just make the club out of training camp and then never go down. Like,
yeah,
those are the two better scenarios.
Actually, that probably wouldn't be a good idea to start out.
No. You can't break out the Lund line. The Lund line.
Right. Yeah, they had great chemistry.
And so Jude tagged me on this photo the other day that Eklund and Zetterlund are working out together in Sweden. I'm like, oh,
the bromance.
They cute. Give me life.
It's really cute. On the topic of someone bringing the Sharks victory, and it's not going to be Will Smith or Celebrini, someone who could potentially, if he's hired as a head coach, no pressure, but Ryan Warsofsky. Listen, for any of y'all who have been following this podcast from the very beginning, it was around the time that we were looking for a new head coach, and Warsofsky's name was thrown in there. Ultimately, David Quinn was hired. Warsofsky was hired as an assistant, but now there's the opportunity to hire him again as a head coach, and I'm still for it. Still a big fan for the things he did in the AHL. I found this article Shing wrote. I just want to quickly summarize and skim through it, but he says that, let me see, 3 league sources told San Jose Hockey Now that Ryan Warsofsky is still on top of the list, with one source characterizing Warsofsky as the front runner, which that's a little exciting. Another source told the SJHN that it could be down to Warsofsky and Marco Sturm. Again, I don't think I have an actual preference because I think whatever they choose is going to be good for the Sharks either way. They need a lot of change. What kind of change? I don't know. I don't know hockey that well, but change will be good. If it's Warsofsky, it could be full circle for him because he interviewed for the top job in the summer of 2022, like I mentioned. Under Quinn, he ran the Sharks defense and penalty kill with varying success. So this is the part that I didn't think about, but he helped Erik Karlsson find his Norris Trophy form to the tune of 101 points, the most for a defenseman since Brian Leetch for the 91-92 season. Last time that Karlsson was a Norris finalist was 2017 with the Ottawa Senators. So I know that the PK was awful last season.
There were a lot of things that were awful. So
yeah, but the fact that he was able to unlock something in Karlsson is really exciting. Like, what could he do with the talents of these younger guys? I don't know. That gets me excited. Just the potential, right? But again, I'm trying not to get too excited. Keep my hopes at a reasonable level. This past season, and granted, Warsofsky was working with a lot less, but the San Jose Sharks defense was a big part of the team's minus 150 goal differential, worst of the cap era. The penalty kill 28th in the league also sputtered. But again, I don't think that was all on him. All with that withstanding, Warsofsky was regarded as one of the brightest head coaching prospects around 2 years ago after leading the Chicago Wolves to the 2022 Calder Cup. He also found success in the ECHL, taking the South Carolina Stingrays to the 2017 Kelly Cup final. If the Sharks hire him as their next coach, it would continue his pattern of a short apprenticeship in a new league before ascending to the top spot. Okay, so again, all for it if it happens. I think I want to see what he can do in a not as limited role as being an assistant coach. But oh no, I lost my train of thought. I was leading up to a point and I just lost it.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. You can talk now.
Well, I will say, I'm fine with if it's coming down to him or Marco Stern, just because we've talked about how this league just kind of recycles coaches, recycles the head coaches. Like we've already seen, like Sheldon Keefe picked up by the Devils, like he was probably like in bed with them before he was like going with the Leafs. Like, let's be honest, like they were probably like sliding into his DMs, and he's like, I've got to let her down gently, like, and I get that it makes sense for a team that is looking over the fence to enter the playoffs. Like you do kind of want someone who has that experience to get there at this level. Like I can see the appeal for filling in your head coach position with someone who has had, well, not necessarily Sheldon Keefe. Like he's the time that he was with the Leafs, like they did make the playoffs, but they didn't go necessarily far. But he still has the experience of being there versus Warsofsky. Like he's had a lot of success at these various levels, and he spent these last couple of seasons with the Sharks in the assistant coach role. So like this is like an ideal next stepping stone for him. Just given like what you've kind of like already mentioned, like he has the potential to like take what he's done and have the opportunity to do more.
Yeah.
And have it be his vision versus like maybe there were things like he wanted to apply during his time under David Quinn, but of course, Quinn's the head coach, so you kind of like he's leading the charge. You just kind of, you have to bow down to that. Like I just, given either one of their resumes, like we're in a position where we're not looking over the fence. Like we're not even in like the same state as the playoffs. So, and we very much have to focus on who we're bringing in from free agency, veteran role to help these young up and coming guys, and someone who has experience with working with these younger folks and being someone who like has most recently kind of like gone through those sort of motions, and the fact that he's quite young in comparison to all these other head coaches like around the league. Like I think I was gonna say like maybe that's ideal, but then now I'm kind of hesitant to say something like that. Like maybe he'll just like I don't know, maybe it'll be a nice addition to have like a coach that like maybe isn't like twice your age.
Yeah. Could be easier to relate to for the young guys. Like the Sharks are in a place where they're gonna have a lot of young guys on the team now, right? Obviously, there's still the veterans here and there. The veterans aren't even that old, except for a couple of them. But to have a head coach closer in age, I think would be really beneficial to them to have some, like, I don't know, just to be able to relate to them a little bit better. Yeah, I don't know. I also, I keep losing my train of thought. What is going on today? Man, it's just that it's been a week. Go ahead, just continue.
All right. Well, we're waiting for the head coach to be announced. And I guess that's all I really wanted to say about what's going on with it right now. If it's either one of those guys, I'll be happy with it. Like like there's no big name or anything that like I was thinking of when we let David Quinn go. And like I said, we're not in a position where we want someone who's, has the larger resume at this level of club. Like I like that we are giving opportunities to these guys who, like, especially Orslowski, where it's like that would be the ideal next step for him. Like he's proven in areas that, like you mentioned, that he is successful and he can, like, he has the capability to like to help grow the skill set for these young kids, or even like, help some of the veterans who maybe are kind of like losing their touch here or there or something like that. Like he has the ability.
A nice way to put it.
Yeah. Like I think there's a lot of good qualities is kind of what like I'm getting at, that like I think he could be an interesting choice. And I mean, I know we haven't really talked too much about like Marco Sturm, but just the things that I've kind of like seen in passing, and then the tie-in with like him having a connection with the Sharks during his like playing years. Like we know how much like the Sharks value that. Like look at the freaking front office. Look at how like Jumbo Joe's just hanging out with everyone, where it's just like, what is he doing here? What's Grandpa doing here? Like it's a very like there you can tell that the players that have had the opportunity to be part of the franchise enjoy sticking around. And I think it also helps to create that like welcoming and positive environment that will also be really helpful for these young coming guys. And then hopefully by extension, free agents will see that as also appealing. Like, oh, look at all these guys that are really, really, even after they're like long retired, they want to come back and they want to help this franchise, and they had a good experience here. And so I guess maybe we should do this, would be like a segue to, speaking of former Sharks,
retired Sharks.
Speaking of retired Sharks, I did not watch. I don't know. Maybe I'll watch it in like a month. I watched a clip of him from his media appearance.
You need to say what we're talking about here.
Good old Captain America. Good old little Joe Pavelski.
Not so little anymore.
Yeah. Frickin' Oilers. See what you've done?
You beat him into retirement. It's another reason I can't root for them, man. He could have got his cup this year.
This is my villain origin story for the Edmonton Oilers. This is what I'll remember about that series. It's sad.
It is. I didn't realize he was 39, so not super surprising. But I guess he informed the Dallas Stars that this was it. This is his last season playing. I think my curiosity is which team he plans to retire with, because I also watched the clip. I didn't watch the whole media availability. He did the interview, whatever. I just watched the clip where someone had mentioned the San Jose Sharks and his time there, and he was talking about Patty and Jumbo, and he was having a really hard time holding back tears, and you could really tell how much the team meant to him. So I would prefer also, but I could see him coming back and retiring as a Shark. which would be great for us. Like, what if he finds a front office job here and helps the Sharks get back on track like he did back, 2016? But also, I'm sure that this Dallas has meant a lot to him too, so I wouldn't be surprised if he decides to stay over there as well. Who knows? It's just
I'm leaning more towards the Sharks. Like, I'm sure he had a good experience with the Stars and everything like that, but I mean, we drafted him. He spent so many years here. I mean, at the end of the day, we don't really know, like, I think on a professional level, they couldn't come to an agreement to keep him, and not gonna talk about like certain players that we acquired and the whole conspiracy around all that and why we didn't keep Pavelski. I think it's a difficult situation. But I want to hope that at the end of the day was all just like business talk, and there wasn't anything like that would cause him to feel any sort of like negative way towards the franchise.
Even if he did, I would assume it would have been with Wilson, and he's out now, so like, come back, dude. New GM.
So I actually had only watched the clip without audio because I could not. Because the clip that I came across had mentioned him like at whatever point he couldn't hold back his tears, and like I just remember a season or two ago with the Stars, and I can't recall who it was that got like hit in the head and was like out for a couple of games, and I think they were asking Pavelski about it, and he was recalling the time when the game against Vegas and whatever, and watching that man like just he does this thing where he starts this is such a nervous tick that he does, and like I just started seeing him do it more in the clip, and I'm like, we're not listening to audio. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be happy today. We're not doing this to ourselves. And it's just, oh my God, that man just like,
it's funny. It's funny.
An uptick of brushing his beard. I was like, nope, I know what's good and I know what's happening. But like,
that's funny.
That you knew, like, I just had it in the back of my mind this season that like, I don't know if he's going to come back if like the Stars, I come back in that he's going to give running a run for the cup like the next go. Like, I don't know at his current like point in his career. Like I think when he went over to the Stars, he managed to find a place for himself in the lineup, and he clicked really well with Robertson and Hintz. And then like 2 seasons ago, like they were just elite on the first line and the first power play, and he was just having like a great latter half of his career. But like, and I feel confident that if he decided, because he hasn't officially said he's retiring.
Right.
It's just that he's not going to be coming back for next season. Him and his family are going to go back to Wisconsin. Like it. Like I think he knows that it's probably going to happen, but I think he needs to sit with it a bit more. And I feel like if he decides that he still desires it and can still bring a productive level to the team, I can see the Stars finding somewhere in their lineup. I don't know if it's like he definitely, like during this playoffs, I noticed that they kind of like took him off the line with with Robertson and Hintz. I guess they weren't really like clicking for them the way that they needed to. I think he was still on the first power play, but I want to say that he like was playing a more like less of a role than he has in the previous seasons, and ultimately that just comes down to like he's like they've got their more younger guys out there, and this game is getting so much more faster. But if he decides that he wants to give it another go, like they'll find somewhere to put him, because I don't know how successful he would be out in if he puts himself out on free agency. Like maybe a team will pick him up that's, gonna make the playoffs, but I don't know if like his role on there is gonna be what ultimately is like how he wants to see his final season go. Like I think that's like all the things he's thinking about.
I just had a fun thought.
Did you remember what you couldn't remember?
No, actually, that's gone. That's over with. I'm not even gonna try. I had a fun thought. There was a playoffs where the Stars were going up Vegas. I think DeBoer was still coaching Vegas. And I do remember some stories coming out of that playoffs where Pavelski was helping sort of more on the coaching side to kind of help defeat Vegas in that series. And they did eventually. Because he knew DeBoer very well. Fun thought. Not going to happen. Joe Pavelski as a coach in the San Jose. When he comes over and helps coach. Now, I'm not saying like a head coach because he doesn't exactly have that experience, but I'm just saying that's a fun little.
Maybe. So yeah, that sucks for Joe Pavelski. Add him to the list of former Sharks players that never ended up hoisting the cup. But I mean, with all these teams in the league now, it's just getting harder and harder to do. And it's just really unfortunate to see the guy who was, picked last in his draft and had such a long and successful career, and we don't get that nice cherry on top to close it out. I mean, at this current time, like he has not officially said he will not be playing anymore, but it's looking like that at the moment.
Yeah. So sad. As if the Sharks fans haven't had enough heartbreak. Keep them coming, I guess.
So in other news, I saw this tweet and then I don't necessarily know this this person, but they put together a whole clip talking to, like, I guess maybe they have a podcast or something, and they're basically reacting to Jacob Trouba getting the humanitarian award this season. And we know that Trouba does, he has his like painting thing on the side, and he like sells prints, or he does a lot of like work kind of like out in the community for things that are related back to like mental health and like that sort of awareness and whatever. And we were talking offline about like like I might say certain things about, like a player like out on the ice or whatever. Like I don't necessarily like the way that they play, and like, but that doesn't mean that they can't be a good person, like, but I guess he saw this clip of these guys being, basically being like, oh, you get this humanitarian award, you go out there every night and you're like elbowing people in the face, concussing them, and blah, blah, blah. This is kind of like hypocritical, yada, yada, yada. And I remember when I did see that Trouba won this award, my initial thought was like, really? Just like, I'm like, I know he does this stuff, but it's like, yeah, but then you like, it's complicated to celebrate a player when it's really frustrating the way that they play out there. Like, I don't know. But like I said, I don't think he's a bad person, but we'll just have to disagree that like he doesn't go out there and realize that the way that you're playing is going to potentially lead to certain situations that you advocate against.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense. People are complicated. What more do you want to say?
Yeah.
I'm all for it, what he's advocating for, right? His tweet says suicide rates have doubled in the past 20 years in US college athletes. And then he references US News. 11 days ago, I don't know when this tweet was, June 5th. So like 3 days ago from this time of recording. 11 days ago, a PGA Tour golfer tragically took his own life after a mental health battle, and people asked how that was possible. We must do better than this. Spitting chiclets. Ryan Whitney. But again, you're you're talking the talk, but you're not exactly walking the walk. Off the ice, sure, I understand. You do your painting; it's an outlet for you. You're selling prints. You're donating to these causes. In a sense, yes, you are walking that walk. But then, why are you contributing to the problem when you're on the ice? Like, I don't know what else to say about that. It just doesn't. It does not click in my head. I'm baffled.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's how I feel sometimes with certain players, where it's like we know that this is like this style of play, while it's finding the exit door in some aspects, it's still largely a part of this game, and it's not condemned as much as we feel that it should be at this stage. And I don't know. I don't know if I have a conclusion for that. I just find it very interesting that, like, when was the last time that he posted?
Before this?
Let's see. Yeah, he posted in February. So I mean, he's kind of active on his Twitter-ish. Mostly just stuff that he's like doing. So, you know, I guess he's just wrestling with his own demons. He's just trying to like, maybe he knows that how he plays is like hypocritical, and he's like, but I'm a good person. Look at all this stuff that I'm doing. Like, I get it. I get it. Just
but do you like
anyways, I don't know how else to end this segment, but yeah, just food for thought, I guess. All right, you want to close us out with this final topic?
Yeah, I mean, still kind of on topic with mental health, and I just wanted to spread some a little bit of positivity out there, because
mental health without the elbowing in the face.
Without the elbowing in the face or the head. Gentle hugs out. I've had a hell of a week. I've had a friend who's also been struggling. I've been following Curtis Gabriel on socials, and he's been talking about the struggles he's going through with his diagnosis with his bipolar. Is it a syndrome? Bipolar? I forget what
he said. Type 2.
Type 2. Oh, I don't know the difference, but you know, life has been really hard. I think people need a reminder here and there to take care of themselves and be gentle with themselves while struggling. Like, I'm gonna be upfront here. I had a mental breakdown this week. I saw a therapist on Tuesday. I saw my second I'm seeing 2 therapists. I saw my second therapist this morning. I'm probably going to do a support group later today. Like, I just need extra support sometimes. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Things get really hard sometimes. Things get overwhelming. ask friends, seek professional help if you have the resources. Like, do things to take care of yourself in gentle, patient, understanding ways. For me, I decided to go get myself a haircut yesterday. I might go get a manicure later. I don't know. I've never really done it before. I'm just trying to feel good. My life is trying to fall apart, and I'm trying to fight back here. So if anyone else is struggling, like, you're not alone. There's other people out there. Reach out for help, comfort, whatever it is. I'm sending you hugs. Like, we all need hugs. That's pretty
Just
much
out
all.
of curiosity, I looked up the difference between 1 and 2. People with bipolar 1 disorder experience more severe highs and may not have depressive episodes, and bipolar 2 is experiences so it's basically opposite of that. It's flipped.
Oof.
So more depressive than hypomania.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think you could kind of see it on his face. He seems like he's really struggling. Poor guy. You can tell in the eyes when someone's struggling.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't reached out to him in a minute because I've been going through my own things, but I might do that. But yeah, just quick mental health message. Take care of yourselves. Haven't done any other mental health segments because they fell through. Also life. But, just quickly throw that in there.
Yep. So, take care of yourselves, everyone. And I guess that's it. Hopefully we get some more, like I know like Oilers fans and Panthers fans, like this doesn't apply to you because you're in like the best time of your lives. Good for you. But the rest of us are starving. We're starving for content for our own teams. I want to know where this team is going. Like, I get it. We got first overall, but like that was last month.
That was so last month. What's happening this month?
We're over it. Come on, hurry. I keep saying, like, yeah. We know who we're gonna pick first overall. I'm over it. Like, who are we gonna pick at 14?
That one kid. Didn't you hear? Didn't they tell you?
So, so that's all we've got for you this week. As always, thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Jay.
And I'm Ness. Oh, quick thing. If anyone's doing any pride things around the bay, hit me up. I want to make friends. That's all.
All right. Bye.
Bye.